Hello Peblets! Lizalfos Parts, Tails specifically, are one of the most annoying parts to collect, especially coming from Breath of the Wild's 100% to now 25%. Today, we'll learn what Lizalfos Parts are used for and what they do when fused, and the best places to collect them. I will be saying Lizalfos a lot in this video, and see if you can guess how many times I do so. There are lots of gear you need Lizalfos Parts for, and I'll be telling you real quick. Check the links in the description for the timestamps if you'd like to skip it. Each piece of the soldier set needs 3 Lizalfos Tails for their 3rd upgrade. Each piece of the Snowquill set needs 3 Fire Breath Lizalfos Tails for their 3rd upgrade. And for their 4th upgrade, they need 5 Fire Breath Lizalfos Horns and 10 Fire Breath Lizalfos Tails. Each piece of the Zora set needs 3 Lizalfos Horns for their 1st upgrade. Each piece needs 5 Lizalfos Talons for their 2nd upgrade. For their 3rd upgrade, they each need 5 Blue Lizalfos Horns and 3 Lizalfos Tails. And for their 4th upgrade, each piece needs 5 Black Lizalfos Horns and 5 Blue Lizalfos Tails. Each piece of the Desert Vos set needs 3 Ice Breath Lizalfos Tails for their 3rd upgrade. And their 4th upgrade, they each need 5 Ice Breath Lizalfos Horns and 10 Ice Breath Lizalfos Tails. Each piece of the Rubber set needs 1 Electric Lizalfos Horn for their 1st upgrade, 5 Electric Lizalfos Tails for their 3rd upgrade, and for the 4th upgrade, they each need 5 Electric Lizalfos Horns and 8 Electric Lizalfos Tails. Each piece of the Ember set needs 5 Fire Breath Lizalfos Horns for their 2nd upgrade. Each piece of the Charged set needs 5 Electric Lizalfos Horns for their 2nd upgrade. Each piece of the Frostbite set needs 5 Ice Breath Lizalfos Horns for their 2nd upgrade. Each piece of the Yiga set needs 3 Fire Breath Lizalfos Tails for their 2nd upgrade, 5 Ice Breath Lizalfos Tails for their 3rd upgrade, and 5 Electric Lizalfos Tails for their 4th upgrade. And there is something that you get after getting all the shrines, and you'll need 9 Silver Lizalfos Horns for that. So the total amounts for all the Lizalfos parts: 9 Lizalfos Horns, 15 Lizalfos Talons, 18 Lizalfos Tails, 15 Blue Lizalfos Horns, 15 Blue Lizalfos Tails, 15 Black Lizalfos Horns, 30 Fire Breath Lizalfos Horns, 48 Fire Breath Lizalfos Tails, 30 Ice Breath Lizalfos Horns, 54 Ice Breath Lizalfos Tails, 33 Electric Lizalfos Horns, 54 Electric Lizalfos Tails, and 9 Silver Lizalfos Horns. That's a lot of parts. I hope I got all the numbers right. And the Lizalfos parts also make decent fused items too. The Talons and the non-elemental horns don't do anything extra except add extra damage to the weapons. The non-elemental tails do of course add extra damage, however they do act like a whip so they have a longer range. They also add long throw to the weapon and they look kinda cool when being used. Here are their attack strengths, from weakest being the Lizalfos Talon that adds 5 attack damage to the weapon, and the strongest being the Silver Lizalfos Horns which adds 34 to a weapon. Now for the elemental horns and tails, they of course add its element to whatever it's fused to. Ice Breath Horns and Tails add ice, Fire Breath Horns and Tails add fire, and Electric Horns and Tails add shock. The tails of course have a longer reach and long throw, but their extra damage is 10 while the horns add 15. You'll get 4 swings of the element, then the weapon will lose its charge, but it will recharge after 5 seconds. The fused Ice Breath Horn or Tail will help Link keep cool in the heat, and the Fire Breath Horn or Tail will keep Link warm in the cold. They also help burn ice. By the way, the tails look cool being thrown with a boomerang. Also, you can throw the material and the element will burst. And even just throwing the material at an enemy will cause the fused attack's damage. By the way, are you counting how many times I said Lizalfos, including these 2 times I just said Lizalfos? Now for collecting all the Lizalfos parts, there's a few things you may need to know. There's horns, talons, and tails. All Lizalfos drop Lizalfos Talons, and the horns and tails are specific with the specific Lizalfos type. For example, Lizalfos, the green ones, they drop Lizalfos Horns and Tails. Silver Lizalfos drop Silver Lizalfos Horns and Tails. Ice Breath Lizalfos drop Ice Breath Horns and Tails, and so on. You get the point. All Lizalfos will drop their horns, and there is a 25% chance that they will drop their tail. And the talons do depend on which ones you defeat, but I think you'll collect enough of these as you defeat all of them. Remember that if you have the sensor ability, you can use this to help you track whichever Lizalfos you need. And also, you can save before defeating the Lizalfos, and then reload if you don't get the part you want. Now for finding Lizalfos. First, let's talk about the green, blue, black, and silver Lizalfos. Using this object map, some decent places to find regular green ones are: first, in the Risk Peninsula in the northeast. The only thing here is that there are lots of water, so it's a little annoying to navigate. And the best place to find them would probably be in the Lineru wetlands. If you travel to the shrine by the wetland stable, you can come across 3 Lizalfos in the forest, 5 to the east at an enemy camp, and you can simply just follow the sensor all over the Lineru wetlands. Again, you can just follow this object map. Some of you probably already know this, but the enemies in the game do level up depending on how many total enemies you've defeated throughout the game. So after you defeat a certain number of enemies, some green Lizalfos will become blue. Then after defeating more enemies, the blue ones will become black, and then the black becomes silver. However, there are some that never change, so the locations that I've showed, I've tried them and checked, and some of them are still green. So some of these do depend on how far you are in the game and how many total enemies you've defeated. Moving on to the blue ones. There aren't that many great places, but based on the object map, I've checked all the way in the west in Gerudo Desert. It's a little annoying to get there. There's 4 blue Lizalfos all the way in the west. One of them actually turned silver. And a little southeast, there's a group of many Lizalfos, including 6 blue ones. But you may have a tough time getting there and being there. There's a few Lizalfos and bomb barrels, so be careful fighting them. Another decent place is in the ancient underground fortress. It's under the Akala Citadel ruins. It's probably best if you climb down, and there are 10 blue Lizalfos here. For the black Lizalfos, there isn't a great place except the Gerudo Desert. There are a little more than 20. You can just use the object map or turn on your sensor to find them. And for the silver Lizalfos, it's tricky to find their location. Because the lower level Lizalfos are the ones that become silver, when I search for silver Lizalfos on the object map, none of them will show. So just for specifically you watching this video, I looked at almost all the Lizalfos locations to see which ones turn silver and mark them on my map. I'll show some sections for a few seconds in case you wanted to mark them for yourself. I marked the silver Lizalfos with stars, and if you see a diamond, then there are 2 silver Lizalfos on that spot. And don't forget to target them on your sensor to help. The first place I'll show you is in the Gerudo Desert. This is probably the best place, and you can find other Lizalfos parts here too. Next is the Farron and South Lineru, but they're somewhat spread out. Going north, this would be the best place to farm all types of Lizalfos too, but in the Lineru wetlands there's about 7 silver Lizalfos, and there are different locations on the mountains surrounding the Zora's domain. And there are 2 at the Risk Peninsula up in the northeast and a handful northwest in the Hebra and Tabantha. Next, let's look in the depths. Don't forget the diamond equals 2 silver Lizalfos, and most of these spots you'll get a treasure and probably lots of zonite. First, let's look at Central Hyrule. This is a good spot, of course, to get silver Lizalfos, and this route is almost similar to collecting crystallized charges to help you get max battery. I do have a video for that. If you need it, check the card in the corner or the link in the description. The next best place is in the Gerudo Desert area in the depths. Yes, these are a few spots, but remember that the diamonds equal 2 silver Lizalfos. There are some locations in the Lineru area, and a few south of that. And there are a few more spots in the northwest in the Hyrule depths. Those are almost all the silver Lizalfos in this game. Of course, I may have skipped or missed a few, but that's lots of options for you to choose from. Now for the elemental Lizalfos. By the way, with the amount of times I said Lizalfos, are you still counting? And we'll start with the Fire Breath Lizalfos. You can find them on Death Mountain and in the Gerudo Desert. Personally, I would stick with the Gerudo Desert farming. Then come back after a blood moon. Just note that they appear from 7 AM to 7 PM, and you can easily defeat them with an ice weapon. I like to use an ice boomerang or an 8-fold long blade ice weapon for ice projectile, which is fun. I would start from the tower, then go a little south for 3. West from the tower for another 3. Then I would get the 10 in the east. North for 2 more. North again for 3 more. Climb a bit north for 2. And go south for the rest. This is a total of 50 if you decide to get them all. For the Ice Breath Lizalfos, it's the opposite but the same as Fire Breath Lizalfos. You can get them in the Heba region, and there are sometimes ones that randomly respawn. But, like the Fire Breath Lizalfos, I would get them in the Gerudo Desert, then go back after a Blood Moon. The same way we talked about the Fire Breath Lizalfos, they all appear in the same locations of the Fire Breath Lizalfos, but instead they appear from 7 PM to 7 AM. As a reminder, or if you skip the Fire Breath part of this video, I would start from the tower, then go a little south for 3. Go west from the tower for another 3. Then I would get the 10 to the east. North for 2 more. North again for 3 more. Climb a bit north for 2. And go south for the rest. This is a total of under 50 if you decide to get them all. And to easily defeat them, I would use a Fire Boomerang or a Fire 8-fold Longblade 2. And finally, the Electric Lizalfos. There are some specific places where there are Electric Lizalfos in the Gerudo Desert, but truthfully, the best way is to probably just target them on your sensor and walk around the Gerudo Desert and follow it. It takes less than a minute, but one Electric Lizalfos would randomly appear. Just check the sensor. If anything, you can follow the object map and grab the random Electric Lizalfos along the way. Now I will tell you how many times I said Lizalfos, but first, thank you so much for watching this video. I hope it helps. If you need help maxing out your battery, you can also watch this video, subscribe for more Zelda content, and 95 is how many times I said Lizalfos. See you next time! Lizalfos.